You know, whether somebody is entertained or not is a funny thing, isn't it? Because it's person to person. It's based on their experience, their individuality, their personality, their opinions, their passions. All these are factors into whether or not you are entertained. But there is a big group of people that are entertained by others' hot takes, if you will, their controversial opinions, right? Some people soak that up like a sponge. And I never thought that this video was going to be my most disliked, most controversial video I ever made on YouTube, because I'm going to tell you guys right now, I like this episode. This episode is 8 out of 10. This is a good episode. It's a very good episode, in fact. It's not a great episode, but it's a very good episode. I was thoroughly entertained. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, this is, of course, episode 8. The episode that all the negativity is coming from. The episode 8. But is it really the episode? People are going to point at episode 8. They're going to say, that's why Record of Ragnarok, the anime, sucks. Now, this is your host, Griever, as always. You guys already know that. And I have my trusty little notes with me from this episode. And this is probably going to be the longest review of the series. So buckle in, settle down, and let's, grab a beer, grab some popcorn, because this is going to be fun. Because, first off, I'm going to give you guys a little math lesson. Because right off the bat, I just said, let's talk about the big elephant in the room. We'll get to all the good points that I really liked about the episode, and honestly, there's a lot of them. But let's talk about the thing that everybody's talking about, because people love negativity. As a whole, societies and the anime communities love seeing the glass half empty. They don't like seeing the glass half full. That's just the way human beings are. But here's a little math lesson for you guys, because they're going to blame the episode, as I said, the whole episode. But is that really the problem? Is it episode 8? Well, where's your timestamp? Is it the whole episode? People say, well, no. Okay, well, then what is it? Now, I actually went and did a few numbers. Let's just assume for a minute we have 12 episodes this season, right? Everybody can agree on that number. Okay, 12. And let's, just for an average, let's say each episode is 24 minutes. Okay? Now, 24 times 12 gives us 288. That's 288 minutes of anime. That's what we got released on Netflix. That's a rough, but it's pretty accurate. 288 minutes of Record of Ragnarok. Now, out of that 288 minutes, what would happen if you put that number into seconds? Well, you would get over 17,000 seconds of Record of Ragnarok. 17,000. And I believe the actual number is 17,280, if I'm correct. I didn't write it down, but I think it's something around that. But over 17,000, okay? The sequence, it's not the episode, the sequence, and I timed it from beginning, from frame by frame, was just over 21 seconds. Now, if we take 21 seconds away from 17,000, you guys want me to do the math to know what type of percentage that is? Or would you like me to convert it back into minutes and then tell you what the percentage is? Or even better yet, let's take 288 minutes and let's put it into hours. Oh yeah. 21 seconds of one episode apparently ruins the entire series. Apparently, 21 seconds, which was bad. It was bad. Terrible 21 seconds. Yeah. See, the math isn't adding up for me, because when I was a kid and I went home and I got a 98% on my math test, my parents didn't go, well, this whole math test, your entire career in your math course sucks because you didn't get the 2%. Pretty sure almost every single system that we abide by, that we enjoy, is you want to be in the high tier of percentages. You want the 90s. You're satisfied with the 90s. You get your driver's license and stuff. You imagine everyone trying to get their learner's permit if they were based on the 1%, not the 99. I mean, well, fossil fuels would have a field day, but the green energy crisis and all that shit. But my point being is that 21 seconds does not make or break anything, any anime, any movie. 21 seconds out of 17,000 is not grounds for shit. That is why this video is going to be my most hated right there. All right, so, and what are we talking about? Well, of course, we're talking about the 21 seconds of a PowerPoint. Well, yes, it was a slideshow. It was a PowerPoint. There was no moving. There wasn't even the very lackluster animation of moving hair and blood particles and motion lines and anything like that. No, and it literally did the tick, 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 the clock sort of swipe, swipe left, swipe right, whatever that shit is. So yeah, that did suck. It sucked. But you know what the best part was? The way the community was making it sound, this is why I'm going to say I'm so glad I was spoiled. I am so glad I was spoiled. Here's to all of you that couldn't wait and had to binge read or binge watch the whole series and have to go straight onto Twitter that first day. Here's to you guys. And I'll tell you why. Because the way everyone made it sound was that this was going to be the most abysmal, hated thing that I have ever seen in my life, that I was going to want to claw my eyes out after witnessing this. And honestly, if nobody had told me, I would have went, oh yeah, they're using a few too many stills. Oh, it's over? Oh. And I would have moved on. I wouldn't have even focused on it. I would have said, yeah, there was a couple of sequences in this fight that weren't so good like that anyway. Jesus, And then I would have moved on to the fact that the other hundreds of seconds, thousands of seconds of this episode was good. I would have used the majority. So, yeah, was it bad? Absolutely. Should they end the fight that way? No, of course not. And it is bad. That definitely minuses an entire point off the episode. But I can't realistically take more than a whole point off for 21 seconds. Not when, which by the way, now we're done. We're done. Tell me how I'm wrong in the comment section down below. This is going to be my most hated video of all time. I'm going to lose subscribers over it. It's going to be glorious. So, here we go. Let's talk about all the good stuff that happened here. Because I was trying to timestamp when it went from like good animation, because the episode starts off with great animation. The fight was well animated. Zeus, in Adominus form or Adamus form, whatever you call it, him versus Adam, that was looking good. This was some of the most animation we had been getting the entire time, and it was good. And I was waiting for the timestamp. Okay, there's too many stills, or there's too much this, or they're stopped moving, or yada yada yada. And I ended up not writing a timestamp down. Because I was just like, no, it's still going. Okay, there was a still for 10 seconds, and then they go back to animation. And it was like, well, it was really good animation. So it's like, I'll forgive the 3 seconds of a still, or a reaction shot from Loki or Odin or somebody, to get into this, right? So yeah, right off the bat, Zeus's creepy, like, echoey voice, he sounds more like a monster sort of idea. Like, he's so compressed. I actually like it. Some people won't, and I will, I can see that. I can see some people not liking that, the sound effect they did with his voice, at least in the English. But I actually really liked it. I thought it made it sound much more terrorizing, much more menacing sort of idea. Reminded me of all the video games I played with the very creepy, and they have like a throat just constantly, right? And a very creepy tone. And the gods, true right, and stuff like that. Like, as I said, the animation was good. I even have it written down here. Animation was solid, even really good throughout the entire episode, right there. The fight was good. The reactions were good, especially the ones from Loki, Brunhilde, the birds, Shiva. They were actually moving. You know what the funny thing is about this episode is that everyone's going to focus on 21 seconds. Nobody's going to focus on the fact that for once, we don't just see a shot, which a lot of people are complaining about. We don't just see a shot of Brunhilde. We don't just see a shot of Odin. We don't just see a shot of Loki. Ever since Loki joined, Loki is constantly moving in almost every shot. Yeah, have you noticed that? Shiva. Now that we're jumping to Aphrodite and Shiva, we don't jump to Aphrodite too much in this episode, but when we jump to Shiva, he actually moves and stuff like that. The reactions aren't just stills anymore. They're actual reactions. They're actually moving, especially Loki. Loki's the one moving the most. The birds are constantly moving, even if Odin doesn't. And just everything like that. Shiva moving. And the crowd actually moves. For once, it's not motion blur stills or just a couple of lip flaps. It's not that. They actually stand up. They rise up. We see some tears. We see some people pick up. We see some people actually that we get new crowd stills instead of reusing the old ones, which they still do. But we get some new crowd stills with new lip flaps and stuff. So I was like, this is probably the most animated reactions and animated crowd reactions especially we have seen the entire series thus far. So I was just happy that we're finally, because that's one of the big minus points for me in the series overall. Too many reaction shots that are stills from our main characters and from our crowd. Too many reused crowd ones that don't move, and too many shots back to Brunhilde and Odin and stuff where nobody moves. It's like, no, like if you're gonna react, I want to see them move, right? So I understand that. But here, this episode was one of the ones done the best out of all the episodes thus far. So I didn't have a problem with that. The OST, the rock opera OST, as they continue the fight, that was amazing. I really also like the idea, like once they did the Adam thing. See, in the manga, this is another improvement. Surprisingly, this is, I believe, the second improvement over the manga. In the last episode, it was, of course, the actual visualization of the serpent's claws with the eyes of the Lord in the Adam backstory. This time, we have the butterfly effect. Very heavily shown, the whole chaos theory, butterfly effect being shown as the tiny trigger. They sort of explain it in the manga, but they use like sickness and war, technology advances, like tiny little triggers just showcase. But all they did to do, even though the narrator sort of explains that about like circumstances and the smallest things can, sort of what Galadriel says, even the smallest person can change the course of the future, to Frodo Baggins in Lord of the Rings. Same idea. And it's explained well here in the manga, and it's narrated well, but we never got the shot of the butterfly. And for anybody who has any understanding of that kind of idea, like how small we are and how like one grain of sand changes here and boom, 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 showcasing an animated butterfly shot after showcasing the earth and zooming in and showing the butterfly, we didn't need the whole famine and war and sickness and health and all these random stills. We just got a shot of a butterfly. And it makes so much sense to everybody who, has that type of knowledge. Like it was a visual representation, and I believe that went way. It might have went above some people's heads, but it's a far better and simpler explanation to just explain how the little drop of blood got into Adam's eye, and that changed the entire course of the fight. Had that not happened, likely Adam would have won. So, I mean, because that was where he took the most amount of damage, and he had the most amount of attacks and stuff. So, that one little trick, that one little instant, but showcasing the butterfly to prove that like it's even beyond the gods' control. These tiny little nuances that happen can change the course of everything happening somewhere completely different. And it was just really, really cool. I really like that they changed that. That was really awesome. Also, the family's animation. Cain, Abel, and Eve, constantly animated for the most part, always moving, always, even when Cain was getting up and stuff, he's yelling, he's crying, you can actually see the tears moving. Abel, same idea, scratching his head. Eve, putting her hands together, bowing down, her hair moves. Like, once again, this is still going into crowd animation, but it's still, once again, the one big thing people have been complaining about is that there's too many stills. There's too many reused shots and too many stills. Well, now the crowd's actually moving, not perfectly, not fluidly, and not every time, but we're seeing more animation out of the crowd and out of the bystanders than ever before in any single episode. So, I mean, are you going to minus a point for that? Like, what's the problem here? The other thing is, Adam's VA, while he's talking about when he loses the eyes of the Lord and stuff, and he's clutching and he's defending himself from Zeus, and he just says like, there's a baby crying. How the music stops and we just hear the echo of the baby crying in the background and stuff. And of course, we didn't really get that representation in the manga. The idea, it's cool, but I like the fact that they show that he's actually hearing a baby. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the idea. But what he's hearing is the cries of all humanity, because they're all his kids. Every single one of them is his children. So I love that he's mentally hearing while they're all crying for him and saying like, stop this fight, this is madness, like this can't go on or whatever, you've done enough, that kind of idea, just go down. He hears the baby crying in the back, like that. Very good sound direction for that. Very, very well thought out for that because, oh, there's a baby crying. Don't worry, your father's here. Sort of idea. Don't cry. I'm going to make all the bad guys go away. And I love how it's interrupted, just like the manga and everything, but that shot was awesome when he catches them and Odin freaks out, Loki, ooh, and it's just like, holy shit, and he's like, found you. Gotcha. And I was just like, yes, this was good. Now, as I said before, then we come into the crux of it. The whole fight was well animated up until this point. When he catches Zeus, it's done pretty well, and then we get into what people are calling the slideshow, the PowerPoint, etc. And we've already talked about that, yada, yada, yada. Once again, yes, was it awful? Absolutely it was. It was abysmal. It was terrible. But it lasted all of 21 seconds. So, sorry. I just don't care. I really don't. I just don't care enough to I took off a whole point. How can I take off more than a point? Like, seriously, somebody explain to me how I can take off more than a point. I mean, if you want to say from a narrative perspective or something, it was like it was the end of the fight, etc., etc. So maybe 2 points. Okay, 2 points. Still an 8 out of 10 episode. Because what else has been wrong so far? Everything else was good. The OSTs were fitting. There was more animation in this fight than ever. The crowd was involved. I'm not seeing any other minuses yet. Like, I'm trying to find them. And then the evening sunset was the appropriate lighting for this. Once again, we don't really see that in the manga, like the whole, when Hermes showed up to introduce Zeus, it was nighttime. Like, I like that idea. Maybe this is sunrise, but I think it's supposed to be sunset. Anyways, I'm not really understanding the whole, how the time frame is working here. It was pitch night when Adam and Zeus started fighting, then it was daytime, and now it's sunset already, but the fight lasted 7 minutes. I don't know. Either way, I just like that they're moving around in the day and night to sort of showcase that stuff. I think that's kind of cool. So yeah, here's something I didn't really like. In the manga, now this could have been done better in the subtitles or in the Japanese, I don't know, but in the manga, how Zeus appreciates Adam and how we know just like a certain person later on also who hates humanity actually ends up appreciating humans more than they thought, sort of idea later on. In the same way, we get this feeling from Zeus. Zeus, of course, like, nah, humanity, they suck. The way, the wording was important at the end of the fight when he just says, like, well done, kiddo. Like, you put this old man flat on his ass. You're one hell of a man. And he also says, a key thing he says is, it's such a shame. You're one hell of a man. And it's sort of like, well, the thing is, and the OST playing over for Adam's death is beautiful. It's a beautiful sound. The OST is fire. I'm giving the OST a 9 out of 10, easy for the whole series. I haven't had a single problem with any of their choices thus far. The only reason I don't give it a 10 out of 10, the opening. It's not my taste in music, but the ending's fire. So, and then yeah, so right here, the OST. But what he says instead, and it just changes you're one hell of a man, and if this was a contest of endurance, which was the same, but he says instead, never met a man so impressive. Like, that doesn't hold the same weight. Never met a man so impressive. That seems more condescending, even though it's not meant to be from Zeus. It's meant to be that he actually respects Adam at this point. That he's like, that's the idea, is that Zeus at this point has gained an appreciation for at least one human. And we see that in the final scene and all that stuff later on, but not in this episode, but later on in the manga, I mean. We start to see like glimpses of that and stuff, that he actually did at the end of the fight. He respects Adam, and he doesn't respect any other humans necessarily, but he respects Adam. And I just found like it wasn't the VA's fault, it was the choice in changing the dialogue. It just didn't flow for me very well. But that's a bit of a nitpick, so all right, take it from an 8 down to a 7.5 maybe for that one thing, but it wasn't that big a deal. Then, of course, we have, after all that stuff, and once again, the Adam OST was great, and after that little abysmal PowerPoint slideshow, the rest of the episode was fine. The rest of it was really good. I like that we're moving at a good pace. Hurst and Goal's conversation and the OST playing while Hurst explains, like, Valkyrie's become one, because Goal's just saying, but the brass knuckles didn't have any damage. Adam might have been dead, but the brass knuckles weren't damaged. Why did she die too, sort of idea? And she wants answers. And Hearst basically says, that's not exactly how Volund works, or Volundur, what they're calling it now. That's not how Volund works. When we transcend into each other, we become one being and stuff. Now, arguably, there's a bit of a controversy with that slightly, but I don't think it's that big a deal. But, I mean, it's still technically true, but maybe they haven't... Anyways, I don't want to spoil anybody who hasn't caught up with the manga, so won't really talk about that. Because it's the same explanation in the manga, so it's not an anime problem. It might be a bit of a retcon issue or something changed later on. Anyways, but yeah, they talk about that, and the OST is playing. She hugs Goal, and once again, the VAs are selling this. Even if you don't really like the animation, the visuals are always good, even if they're stills and etc., etc. The visuals are always good. The OST is fire, and I haven't had a single problem with a single VA the entire time. So definitely, if you want to take away, no, the animation is absolute crap, then you still have to give the other 2/3 of what makes an anime different from a manga, which would be the sound and the voice. Sound and voice are both gain their points, so it's 2 out of 3, right? Even if you want to give 0 to the animation. So, and then finally at the end of the episode, we get Kojiro is finally showing up. A lot of people's favorite fight, a lot of people's favorite character. And yeah, honestly, and we have, I don't know exactly how to pronounce his name, so I'm probably going to butcher it, but I believe his name is Kyeon Young, and he is a very distinguished actor, and I've heard him in many things, and I've seen him in quite a few movies. I believe he's Chinese, in fact. I'm not 100% on that, but I've seen him in quite a few films. I've seen him in quite a few, I've heard his voice many, many times. I think it's very appropriate voice choice for his character. I like the fact that they're trying a little bit. Adam sounds like what you would assume Adam would sound like. Lu Bu sounded like a monster. And now, you know, someone from the East actually has an Eastern voice actor, right? Like, it's just, I find like they're trying to suit the voices as best they can. And they're choosing some really good stars. Like once again, I'm really happy with this choice. Some people might not be, but I think the accent and everything is really selling it for me. I really enjoy it. So yeah, either way, so yeah, this is going to be like a 25-minute probably review, and I'm thirsty. But yeah, the lowest I'll go is 7. I'll go 7 out of 10 for the episode. That's the lowest I'll go, and I say it's an 8. I say it's an 8 because we got more animation than ever before. We got, outside of maybe like the last episode, we got, as I said, the OST was great. Crowd animated more than ever. Starting off round 3, which is apparently going to be really good because I haven't heard any spoilers about round 3. Because ironically, once again, communities, anime communities, every type of community is glass half empty. So they'll complain, they'll only talk about the bad things. Nobody's going to talk about the good things. So because I have not heard a single thing about the upcoming fight Poseidon versus Sasaki, because I haven't heard a single thing about it, that means it was probably good and there's nothing to complain about. So the next 3 episodes are going to be, or 4 episodes of it. Yeah, the next 4 episodes are going to be good, and they're going to be really good, and nobody's saying anything because the naysayers don't want to draw their attention to something that's actually might be good. Wow, go figure. So anyways, yeah, no, this isn't me really bitching. This is just me like sort of laughing. This is me just sort of having a good time. Because the fact of the matter is that the entire anime is over 17,000 seconds, and we're going to call the whole thing garbage based on 21 of them. And I just... Sorry, guys, that doesn't work for me. If my son or daughter brings home a math test and it's in the 90s, what am I going to do? Well, you got a 92. You should have gotten a 93. That's not good parenting. That's stupid. You know, like you don't blame someone for messing up one thing. You build an entire house and you nick one wall that tear the whole house down. No, sorry. I painted my entire basement last year. Is it perfect? No, it's not professional. I'm sure if you look really close at the corner, oh, there might be a little bit of green on that white. Oh my God. Tear down the whole basement, start again. Doesn't work that way, folks. Sorry. In no other stage in your life, in no other point or place in your life is that going to be acceptable, that somebody's going to say 99 ain't good enough. The 1% matters, the 99 doesn't. Nobody else in any other place is going to say that except in the anime community, because you're a bunch of entitled, friggin' too high expectation peoples. Just too many of them. And as we always know, and as we learned from the latest My Hero Academia chapter, 10 fans are drowned out by one heckler. So it doesn't matter if the community at a large, we've been sitting back enjoying it, calling it a 6, 7 out of 10 series. It's not great. It's not bad. We can sit back and go, it's average. It's decent. I'm happy to have an anime adaptation. But nobody's going online cackling like this to make sure that they know it's decent. It's the people going, this sucks, that do the dinosaur claws on the keyboard. So, yeah. Anyways, as I said, I'm not going below a 7 for this episode, guys, so you guys can hit that dislike button all you fucking want. I just don't give a fuck. So, I'm enjoying myself. I love the manga. I love the series, and I'm just thrilled that we actually got an anime at all. So, take it or leave it. I thought the episode was fine. Had one bad 21 seconds sequence. I did the math. Numbers don't lie. Deal with it. Like, comment, subscribe. So anyways, drink responsibly as always. Hope you guys continue liking the series. If you do, you know, I love making controversial videos. This is going to be fun. All right. See you later, guys. Episode 9 incoming. I can't wait.